The temperature dropped, and so did the crowd. 8-year-old Michael sang through shivers, his breath visible in the air. Then a coat landed on his shoulders, warm, heavy, smelling faintly of lavender. But that wasn't the only thing the woman gave him. It started 40 minutes earlier. The corner of 5th and Main wasn't ideal. Too much wind funneling between the brick buildings. Too few people stopping on a Wednesday evening in late November. But it was the spot Joseph Jackson had chosen, and when Joseph chose, the boys didn't question. Michael stood between his older brothers, hands jammed into his thin jacket pockets. His fingertips had gone numb 10 minutes ago. The guitar case lay open at their feet, a few coins scattered inside, mostly pennies, 1 dime. Jermaine tuned his guitar, breath clouding. Tito adjusted the strap on his bass. Jackie stood ready with the tambourine. "We do I Want You Back," Joseph said from behind them, arms crossed. Then ABC, then we see. Michael nodded. His teeth wanted to chatter, but he clenched his jaw. Performers don't shiver. That's what Joseph always said. The audience doesn't pay to watch you be cold. They pay to forget their own problems. The music started. Tito's bass line cut through the wind. Jermaine's guitar followed. Jackie's tambourine added the rhythm. And Michael opened his mouth. His voice came out strong at first, practiced, clear, the notes hitting where they needed to. But here's what you didn't see coming. 20 seconds in, his breath caught, not from emotion, from cold. The air was sharp enough to sting his lungs, and for half a beat his voice wavered. Joseph's eyes narrowed from the side. Michael saw it in his peripheral vision. He pushed harder, singing through the tightness in his chest. The passers-by kept walking. A man in a business suit glanced over, then away. A couple holding hands crossed the street to avoid them. A teenager with headphones didn't even look. 30 people had passed in the first verse. Not one stopped. Michael's hands had gone from numb to aching. He pulled them from his pockets, trying to add some movement to the performance. A spin, a small slide step his brothers had been teaching him. But his legs felt stiff. The cold had settled into his bones. Halfway through the second verse it happened. His teeth chattered, audible, a quick tack-tack-tack that broke through between the words want and you. Jermaine glanced at him. Tito's fingers hesitated on the bass for just a fraction of a second. Jackie kept the tambourine going, but his face showed concern. Joseph stepped forward, just one step, a warning. Keep going, don't stop, don't show weakness. Michael clenched his jaw harder and sang. His breath came in visible clouds now, each exhale a small ghost in the fading daylight. The streetlights had started to flicker on, casting orange halos in the dimness. The temperature had dropped another 2 degrees. The weather report that morning had predicted low 40s. It felt closer to 30. The crowd, if you could call it that, had thinned further. Maybe 8 people within earshot now. A mother pulling her daughter by the hand, hurrying past. An older man walking a small dog, eyes down. 2 women in office clothes, deep in conversation, not hearing the music at all. Wait, notice the moment everything started to shift. At the edge of the corner, near the lamppost, stood an elderly woman. She wore a gray wool coat buttoned to the collar and a burgundy scarf wrapped twice around her neck. Her white hair was pinned back in a neat bun. She held a small brown purse with both hands. And she wasn't moving. She was watching. Michael didn't see her at first. He was focused on keeping his voice steady, on ignoring the ache spreading through his fingers, on hitting the high note coming up in the bridge. He spun again, slower this time, his legs heavy, and that's when his eyes caught hers. She wasn't smiling, she wasn't frowning. Her expression was something else, something that looked like recognition, or maybe memory. The song continued. Michael held her gaze for just a second, then turned back to face forward. His brothers were solid behind him, the rhythm tight despite the cold. Joseph had stepped back again, arms still crossed, watching the street more than the boys. The bridge hit. Michael pushed into the high note, clear, sweet, cutting through the wind, and that's when the woman moved. She reached up with both hands and unbuttoned her coat. 1 button, 2, 3, 4. The coat opened, and she slipped it off her shoulders. Beneath it, she wore a simple beige sweater. The cold hit her immediately. Michael could see her shoulders tense, but she didn't stop. She walked forward, slow, deliberate steps. Her shoes clicked softly on the pavement. Germain saw her first. His eyes widened. Tito's hand slowed on the bass, unsure. Jackie's tambourine faltered, but the woman raised one hand, a small gesture, palm forward, and they kept playing. Michael's voice almost broke. Not from cold this time, from surprise, from confusion, from the sudden awareness that something was happening, something outside the script of street performance, something he hadn't rehearsed. The woman reached him just as the final chorus started. She didn't say anything. She simply draped the coat over his shoulders. It was heavy, heavier than it looked. Warm. The wool still held her body heat, and it smelled faintly of lavender, like dried flowers kept in a drawer. Michael's voice steadied. The warmth spread across his back, his arms. His hands, still exposed, ached less suddenly. He kept singing, eyes locked on the woman's face now. She smiled, small, soft, the kind of smile that held 1,000 untold stories. But that wasn't the only thing the woman gave him. 45 seconds left in the song. The coat was warm, but the 5 words? Still coming. The woman didn't step back. Instead, she leaned in, close enough that Michael could hear her over the music, close enough that her voice didn't need to carry, close enough that no one else could catch the words. She whispered. 5 words. Quiet, deliberate. Each one landing like a small stone dropped into still water. Don't stop, you're worth hearing. Then she stepped back. She turned. And she walked away into the thinning crowd, her arms wrapped around herself against the cold she'd given up. Michael's eyes followed her. His voice didn't stop. Muscle memory kept the melody going, the words flowing. But his mind had split into 2 tracks. One track sang. The other track repeated those 5 words over and over, like a loop he couldn't pause. Don't stop, you're worth hearing. The song ended. The final note hung in the air, visible as breath, then vanished. The street was quiet for 3 full seconds. Not silent. Cars still rumbled past. A distant siren wailed. Someone's radio played faintly from an open window, but quiet in the way that mattered. The kind of quiet that meant people were listening. Then one person clapped. A man in a brown jacket standing near the corner store. Then another. A woman with a shopping bag. Then the older man with the dog stopped, turned, and clapped too. The sound built, not loud, not a roar, but present. Real. And something else happened. The man in the brown jacket walked over and dropped a $1 bill into the guitar case. Not change, a full $1. The woman with the shopping bag added 2 quarters. The dog walker pulled out a handful of coins and let them fall, clinking against the others. Joseph's expression shifted. Not a smile. He didn't smile during performances, but something in his eyes changed, a flicker of acknowledgement. Again, he said quietly, from the top. Remember the shivering? It stopped. But not because of the coat. Michael adjusted the wool on his shoulders. It slipped slightly, too big for his small frame, but he pulled it tighter. The warmth had settled into his skin now. His fingers still ached, but less. His breath still clouded, but softer. Jermaine started the bass line again. Tito joined. Jackie's tambourine clicked back into rhythm, and Michael sang. This time, his voice didn't waver, not once, not when the wind picked up, not when another group of passers-by approached, not when a city bus rumbled past, drowning the sound for 5 full seconds, because the woman's words had done something the coat couldn't. They'd given him a different kind of warmth. The kind that starts in the chest and spreads outward. The kind that makes cold air feel like just another obstacle, not a wall. The small crowd grew, not massive. This wasn't a concert hall, wasn't a stage with lights and microphones. Just a street corner. But 12 people stopped now. Then 15. A teenager leaning against the lamppost where the woman had stood. A couple pausing mid-conversation. A delivery driver waiting by his truck. And they stayed. Michael noticed their faces. Not all of them smiled. Some just watched, expressionless, taking in the sound. But they didn't leave. They gave him something. Attention, presence, witness. The same thing the woman had given when she stood at the edge, watching before anyone else did. The second song bled into a third. Joseph didn't call it. Jermaine just started the opening riff of another tune, and the brothers followed. Michael's voice climbed higher, experimenting with a run he'd been working on in private. It landed clean. Jackie whooped, a small spontaneous sound of approval, and the crowd responded with more applause. By the time they finished the third song, the guitar case had more bills than coins. $2. $3. A $5 bill, creased and soft, lay near the center. Joseph stepped forward and nodded once. That's enough for tonight. The crowd dispersed slowly. A few people lingered, whispering to each other. The teenager gave Michael a thumbs up before walking away. The couple dropped another $1 in the case as they left. Michael looked down at the coat still draped over his shoulders. Gray wool. Burgundy scarf left behind tucked into the collar. He scanned the street looking for the woman, but she was gone. Fully gone. No trace except the warmth and the 5 words still echoing in his head. Tito started packing up the bass. Jermaine closed the guitar case carefully, counting the bills with Joseph. Jackie collected the coins, grinning at the haul. Michael didn't move yet. He stood there, the coat heavy on his shoulders, looking at the spot where the woman had stood, the lamppost, the patch of sidewalk, the corner where she'd watched, decided, and walked forward. "Michael," Joseph's voice cut through. "Let's go." Michael turned. He started to take off the coat, to fold it, to carry it, to somehow return it. But Joseph shook his head. "Keep it on, it's cold." So Michael kept it on. He walked with his brothers, the coat dragging slightly at his ankles. Too long, too big, too warm. His hands had feeling again. His chest didn't ache. His teeth didn't chatter. And in his mind, on repeat, softer now but still there. "Don't stop. You're worth hearing." 3 weeks later, Joseph booked them a real gig. Not a street corner. A small club on the south side. Opening slot, 20-minute set. The pay was $15. Split 5 ways, that meant $3 each. But it was a stage, a microphone, a room full of people who'd paid to get in. Michael wore the gray coat to the venue. It still smelled faintly of lavender. He'd tried to find the woman, asked around the neighborhood, described her to shop owners, watched the corner of 5th and Main every time they performed there, but she never returned, or maybe she did, and he just missed her in the crowd. The night of the gig, standing in the narrow backstage hallway, Michael felt the old familiar tightness in his chest. Not from cold this time. From nerves. from the weight of the moment, from the knowledge that this was the first step toward something bigger, something undefined but inevitable. Germain nudged him. "You ready?" Michael looked down at the coat. Too big, borrowed, given by a stranger who'd seen something worth protecting, worth encouraging, worth hearing. He took it off carefully, folded it, and set it on a chair. "Yeah," he said, "I'm ready." The stage lights came up. The crowd noise filtered through the curtain. Joseph gave the signal. The boys walked out. And Michael, 8 years old, no coat, no safety net, just his voice and his brother's and 5 words still echoing, stepped up to the microphone. He opened his mouth, and he didn't stop. Some moments live in memory not because they were loud, but because they were true. A street corner, a coat, 5 words, and a kid who learned that being heard starts with someone choosing to listen.